Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Okay. Geeta, did you want to read this? I know you got off from that.
Yes, sure. Just a moment.
Before you read, let me just, so that we have remember where we are, let me go through it a little bit. So we were at a stage that Nachiketa had asked his second boon already. And Yamraj or Dharmaraj got very impressed with him. So what a great student he is. And he gave him extra things. He gave him a boon. He taught him, because the second boon was, how to reach that Swargaloka and all that. So he told him what to do to reach there. And he said, this is going to be called Nachiketa fire. And then he gave him his necklace and all that. So... and then he also said that last verse was, whoever performs 3 times the sacrifice of Nachiketa fire and has been united with the 3. Remember, we discussed in detail what he was talking about, not only physical act of yagna, but, connecting to your guru, parents and all that, and having a gratitude and all that. And then the 3 duties that you should be doing, swadhyay, tapa, and all that, yagna. And so then you will overcome birth and death, because at the Swarglok, there is no physical ailments are not there like we suffer over here. And then he said that if you remember that adorable, omniscient fire in your heart, what the source is, it will give you, everlasting peace. Taught him the meditation part, or upasana part in that. So that's what we finished last time. And this one is, okay, let me do the Sanskrit and all that, and then can read. Verse 18, whoever has a book. Trinachiketat viditva ya evam vidvanschinute nachiketam samrityu pashan puratah pranodya shokati gomodate swargaloke. So here is kind of a concluding about the whatever last few verses. That's all it is, this particular verse. He who has, Trinachiketaha, who has performed the Nachiketa fire. So how Tejomayananji was explaining that धर्मराज ने उनको बून दिया कि ये इसको नचिकेता फायर बोलेंगे, और ऑलरेडी बोलना शुरू कर दिया उसको नचिकेता फायर. He started calling it. Trayam, 3. Etat, these. Viditva, having known. Cha is who. Evam is thus. Vidwan is the knower. Chinute performs. Nachiketam, the Nachiketa fire. Saha is he. Mrityu pashan, the chains of death. Puratah, before death. Pranodya, destroying, throw away. Shokatiga, free from sorrow. Modate, rejoices. Swargaloke, in the heavens. So basically he's saying that जो इस ढंग से करेगा और उसमें वो 3 चीजें करेगा. और कौन सी है वो 3 चीजें? What are the bricks? How many to use? And what is the formation? So the know-how of the whole yagna. So उसका क्या होगा? He will break the bondages of birth and death, and basically, there's Swamiji explained that when we talk about birth and death, we think of a physical body dying and a new body. But in Vedantic sense, in a very scientific way, that is, birth and death is happening constantly. So you are getting over the realm of change, because this somebody say, hey, what do you mean by birth is happening, birth and death? Okay, look at our own body. How many cells die every day? I mean, the scientists will tell you that we shed so many dead skin and this and that, millions of dead cells die. And then somebody was saying, in 7 years, your entire body has changed. You are not there what you were. And then another beautiful example is the nadi, the river. Same water is never, ever in the river. A few seconds, especially if you have seen the Ganga ka bahav, at the Himalayas, it's so strong at certain places. 2 seconds, the water is gone, and that water is never coming back. So we are in the realm of change. You don't get affected by it. That's what, if you deep adhyatmic meaning is that basically you are not getting affected. When you say you got over birth and death, there's a lot more deeper meaning than saying that, cycle se chhoot gaye. Every day you don't get perturbed by the change. That's another way of looking at it, this one. So going, and then it goes beyond sorrow. That's another very, very important point, because like in Bhagavad Gita also, that's a very strong point in Bhagavad Gita, that the deep sorrow in everybody's heart can only go away with Brahma Gyan, according to Vedanta. Every other thing is putting a little band-aid. It's not going to go away. If you say worldly explanation for things, you will never find a satisfactory answer for anything. But once somebody gets that's why it's called that such a Raja Vidya, because after you get that, you become established in that, then you don't get affected by the change, and deep sorrow is gone. So that's what he's kind of preparing his mind. Even though it is like a not complete Brahma Gyan he's talking about just halfway, Swargalok tak hi. वो भी सुनने में बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है, and if while doing this, if you do a little upasana and meditation, then you can definitely achieve even more. That's what basically the whole idea is over here. So this is what he's going to talk in this verse. Any question? Okay. Geeta, you can read.
He who knows the 3 Nachiketa fires and propitiates Nachiketa fire with this knowledge throws off the chains of death before the fall of the body itself, goes beyond sorrows, and rejoices in the heaven. Lord Death is here concluding his advice on the Nachiketa fire sacrifice with the glorification of the karma and the fruits thereof. He says that those who know fully well the 3 main sections of the knowledge concerning this Agni Vidya shall go beyond the sorrows and tears of the world and reach a plane of consciousness wherein he shall live and enjoy eternally. The 3 factors of Nachiketa fire knowledge are constituted in the understanding of what has been already said about A, the bricks, B, their number, and C, the mode of their use. He who performs this yajna and also meditates for long upon the fire as the very Atma, self, of the meditator, shall after death reach the state of the total intellect called the Hiranya Garbha or the Brahmalok.
So here I wanted to tell you that, like, when we were doing our study group, our teacher used to explain to us, and then she used to always say ki in Kathoupanishad they have talked about direct mukti and krama mukti, and I think we had that topic come up before over here. Hey, do we go like directly over there, or we go in stages? So there could be stages also. It's like if I want to go to from San Diego to New York, I can either take some fast plane and go straight, or I can go in a car and wait and go aram se, take 4 stops and enjoy myself and go too. That's possible. So here he's talking about going through the Brahma Loka, but our teacher used to always say that, after going to Brahma Loka, you have to learn that Gyan wahan bhi. Because, Brahmaji will teach you the Brahma Gyan. And what Krishna Bhagwan is telling you, he's there, dharti pe baith ke you can get the Brahma Gyan. So that's the only difference. So if you want to go that slow route, it's available. This is what he's talking about, that, hey, if you do this yagna, and remember another very important thing, he who performed this yagna and also meditates for a long time on fire as the very Atman of the meditation, then he will reach that state of Hiranyagarbha. So only doing ritual is not going to do. So he is shattering that idea कि भाई वो ये ritual कर लो कुछ मिल जाएगा तुम्हें. No, you got to go, upasana part of it is very important, equally important in it. And Bhagavad Gita में ऐसा बहुत कुछ आता है कि if you just read the half a shloka, it has a totally different meaning, but there is some conditions attached to it. So, and what people do, they in India, people who don't want to थोड़ा सा पढ़ के कृष्ण भगवान ने तो ऐसा बोला था, एंड ऐसा करो भाई, इससे मिल जाएगा तुमको, मुक्ति मिल जाएगी, ये हो जाएगा, वो हो जाएगा, and then people are getting frustrated, I'm doing all this sadhana, nothing is happening because you didn't ponder upon the other two things he just said, the condition. Very, very important. You will see that a lot of those verses are going to come like that. So just wanted to bring that point.
This is as it ought to be. We have found in the earlier discussions how a synthesis of ritual, karma, and meditation, upasana, when pursued with sincerity, conveys the ego to the greater joy of the Brahmalok, where, being advised by the Creator himself, it gains complete liberation, kaivalyahood, at the time of the dissolution. This is called krama mukti, gradual liberation in Vedanta. The stanza under discussion is very important, inasmuch as it provides the basis for one of the most important beliefs established in the philosophy of Vedanta regarding the process of gradual liberation. The Upanishad here insists that one who performs Nachiketa fire along with the meditation suggested goes beyond the shackles of death even while living in one's mortal coil. Herein, death means the living death in rotten negativities, such as ignorance, desires, hatred, and so on. The practitioner of this synthesis of ritual, karma, and meditation, upasana, realizes his self to be the macrocosm, Virat.
So here there are, two different words. They use the Virat and the Hiranyagarbha. And then whoever did Mandukya Upanishad, you remember the three stages, at microcosm and macrocosm state. So Virat is a physical world. You can say this cosmos that we can comprehend with our five senses is Virat. And that's why in Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 11, it's called the Virat Roop. It's showing that how the entire cosmos is in Krishna Bhagwan, or in that Brahman is a substratum. Just like, and the best example is, my dream is within me. So it's like, that's how you look at it if you want to understand it. And Hiranyagarbha is that total intellect together. Cosmic intelligence is called Hiranyagarbha. Those are a few technical words. And then here he explained the Krama Mukti also, like I was telling you. And Kaivalyahood. Kaivalya means one only. But then Hindi mein Keval ek. Keval means one. So there is actually one Upanishad also, Kaivalya Upanishad. It talks about how substratum is one. So that's what he's talking about. So those are a couple of different words. Somebody didn't know them. Okay. Yeah.
One question,
Yeah.
Umaji.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yes and no makes sense, but okay, when we talk about this one life and we talk about this time of, the once he's done the Nachiketa rituals and all that, and then we say that conveys the ego greater joy of Brahmaloka, we're being advised by the Creator himself. Now, as I understand, it is still in this world. Is that correct? Because Creator himself is not another world. I mean, we talked about this earlier also.
See, it is what you believe in. It can be explained both ways. A physical world also, in a sense, because our problem is this: we only things in terms of the five senses. Whatever we cannot grasp, we think it does not exist. Is that true? In the complete nitty-gritty.
No, there exists. I mean, yes and no to some extent, but yes, you believe in something higher. But we see that the moksha is only from this human birth. Here we are saying something else.
True, it's
We're
saying something else.
after the dissolution of the world itself, that means he is somewhere where he's not going because of he's not doing things because of his vasanas or anything. He's not exhausting vasanas. He's completely free from that. He's pure. Yet he's not reached that stage of the...
No, I don't think that's what they're saying.
Okay, what? Then?
So
Tell me.
if you have a complete exhaustion of vasana, then you got moksha anyway. But here he's saying, because remember, if somebody is doing, think about this. If somebody is doing a yagna to go to Swargalok, he still has vasanas.
Yes.
Vasana exhaustion has not happened. That's why he's postponing his... Just like Krishna Bhagwan ne again and again he tells in Bhagavad Gita, karma phal ko tyago, karma phal ko tyago. Usne tyaga nahi hai karma phal ko, right? He wants something to come later on. Usko desire hai ki wo phal baad mein mile. So what you are reading between the lines is, krama mukti mein wo vasana abhi bhi hai uske man mein. But he's just going to different loka, better and better.
He's done the ritual, he's done the upasana, he's done the meditation, he's done the ritual, right?
He's practicing it. He's not completely done with meditation. He's practicing meditation, you can say. It is not like, because when you say, remember we discussed about meditation. Meditation is actually a state.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And when we say, in the local language, when we say you're doing meditation, according to Chinmayananji or other saints, you are preparing for it. You're not there yet, right?
Yes.
So when he's talking about over here कि वो ये bricks वाला कर रहा है अपना नचिकेता फायर का ritual and उपासना कर रहा है अभी.
Yes.
अभी वो पहुंचा नहीं है वहाँ पे. So that's there is only technical difference, but the point I was trying to make is you can take this whole scenario on this earth में बैठ के भी तुम ब्रह्मलोक में पहुंच सकते हो, because when your mind becomes all pure and all, you are as though in ब्रह्मलोका, right?
Yes.
स्वर्ग भी हमने बोला कि when you feel happy you are in स्वर्ग, when you feel miserable we feel like we are in hell. तभी तो English language में भी go to hell means they are not telling you, means just be miserable kind of thing, right? वो भी हम ले सकते हैं कि भाई यहाँ पर बैठ के सब कुछ हमारे अंदर ही हो रहा हो, और physical world भी लिया जा सकता है. Because
the Brahmaloka then is here itself.
Yes, but what I'm saying, you can take it, but somebody can take it as another loka also, because when you talk about all these NDE people, okay, NDE people when they left their body, like Anita Murjani, a lot of you have read about it. She was in a different realm, right? NDE is near death experience.
Near death.
Because those are the only people who validate, because they have gone and come back. हम लोग बोलेंगे हमको क्या पता, हम लोग मरेंगे क्या होगा वगैरह वगैरह, we don't know. We are इधर तो श्रद्धा रखो अपना इसमें, उसमें जो बोल रहे हैं नहीं है श्रद्धा इसमें. अगर if you think they are not lying, तो फिर श्रद्धा वैसे जाग जाएगी कि भाई this person, I know this person is not going to lie when he said in different realm. So when you're talking about different realm, those things exist, but they are beyond our five senses. Because वो जो physical जो sense है वो हमने छोड़ दिया यही धरती के ऊपर. And if you the one of the program that I sent, I don't know how many of you watched. It was that Anthony Cheney's 1 hour thing, and maybe about a month ago or so I sent it on Geeta class. It starts with Anita Murjani's interview, and there he interviewed a lot of people from different university, professors, this, that, because there is a renewed interest now in consciousness studies and all that. So they all are saying that physically they were dead. Confirmed for a few minutes, they had no heartbeat, no brain activity, blah, blah. And these people were in the realm, it felt to them more real, more this thing. See what I'm saying? So we cannot say that those lokas don't exist. That everything happens, whatever happens is right here on earth with my five senses. It's not. The more you explore this subject, you will be expanding your mind. But I'm saying that both ways it sounds valid, depending on how you want to accept it. That yes, while on this earth, within my own mind, I can be in Brahmaloka and मेरे को वैसे मुक्ति मिल जाएगी, or I quit this body, go to another loka, go to Brahmaloka, physical, some world. I'm using the word physical, it may not be the right word because the words don't do justice to those experiences, right? Then I can go that way also. That's all I'm saying. These are the two different theories. Now it's up to us who you want to believe and how your mind gets a little settled with.
Not knowing both of them yet, So
yeah, and that's where
between.
True. All this comes with Shraddha. Like for me, my own personal journey, I didn't believe in a lot of things before. That's how we grew up, right? Like, hey, this sounds bizarre and stupid. But the more I met people now, because I've traveled so much, and then you develop that faith, and then you read this, and then you hear about, like I was telling you in Anthony Cheney's thing, there was a Harvard professor, who was like a legitimate, professor over there of neurosurgery. And his entire career he was in, and then he had this profound experience because his brain shut down. He had a meningitis, and they said it was a complete miracle. Just like Anita Murjani, it was a miracle. She was in 4th stage of cancer, and when she came back, everything healed and all that. And these are living people in this century right now, and they're still alive, talking about it. That they went to a different loka and came back.
So if it's a one-time experience, are they still in that state?
No, it is something like, okay, this is what I'll give you an analogy. I've never been to Niagara Falls. Okay? I've only heard from all of you. And then you say, oh, it's so great, and it's this and that. So मैंने अपनी एक धारणा बना ली कि ऐसा है. But मैं वहाँ जाके वापस आ गई अब.
That's an experience, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So now I don't need anybody's convincing. I know what it is. I don't need to read in a book. I don't read, and that experience will stay with me forever, because ever meaning in this life, So once they experience and came back, that's why their persona changes completely. If anytime people who have had that experience, they understand the difference between ego and that substratum. They know that things that we give so much importance on this earth, they are useless. The main thing is, love, compassion, forgiveness. All of a sudden, they are raised to that bar, and they are desperately trying to tell everybody. They are not undermining the physical world, but they are trying to remind you that what is the real juice in life, It is more the higher values, which all the religions talk about in a different language. But we kind of don't maybe grasp it completely. So, and the reason I like to watch the shows, because sometimes they say, oh my God, they're talking exactly like what Bhagavad Gita talks about, but in their own language, So it validates me in my understanding, even if I have some doubt, it just goes away because they're genuine people, and their life did change significant extent, So I don't know. We went into a big discussion, but I don't know if that helped you in your question.
No, it did help me. Just one more line that I do have a question about. Mm-hmm. He says, being advised by the Creator himself, it gains complete liberation, Kaivalyahood, at the time of the dissolution. The time of the dissolution, that means when the whole world or the whole cosmos, it goes into the unmanifested state. Is that what we're talking about?
Again, both ways you can see that what you are saying. Yes, when the complete dissolution happens, you have a complete mukti, and you will not come back. Then you will come back as an avatar if you want to come back. When the recreation.
Till that time, that person who has done the rituals and that he is in what state at that time? Till then is. That means he cannot be in this world then. I mean,
no, you can. No, that's not true. You can be in this world too. You can. There are people who are at.
But no, but the dissolution. What I'm thinking, dissolution is you talk about thousands of years. You're not talking. Or
Dissol-
is it the mind concept?
Yeah, both. That's exactly what I was getting at. Dissolution of all the negativities. उसको कोई फर्क ही नहीं पड़ रहा है. You can look at it that way too. So dissolution can happen while you're on this earth or physical dissolution of the universe. Both ways it's valid, this statement. Both ways.
Okay.
You know. So it can, that's why when in Bhagavad Gita, when they talk about moksha, they call about Jivan Mukti. Right?
Yes.
That you, while you are in this physical body, you got moksha.
Right.
But there is
right.
another technical way you can say, okay, you got moksha, after you die, you don't come back. You can say it that way too. Some people can say. But Bhagavad Gita talks about Jivan Mukti. That anybody,
Yeah,
anywhere,
they talk
anytime.
about the death of the ego. They're
Yes,
talking at that
yes.
time of
And
the
when we
ego.
come to chapter 8, Krishna Bhagwan, when he talks about, hey, dissolute, like, when a person dies, basically the verse is that when you are dying, whatever your last thought is, that's what matters. Because it's like the way Swamiji used to explain that, you are जहाँ पर तुम्हारा arrow जाएगा ना, उस जहाँ पर तुम arrow छोड़ोगे उस direction में वो जाएगा. So physically you can say, when I'm dying, my most predominant thought that I have lived in my life will be there last moment. So if you have lived a very dharmic life, you have lived a very Krishna oriented life or Bhagwan oriented, then those thoughts will come. But if you have not done that, then कितना भी कोई बोलेगा भगवान का नाम जपो, वो नहीं जपेगा. All the chips are down at that time. You cannot pretend to be what you're not. That's the point. So that can be one way of looking at it. Another way, Swamiji explained, death of an ego. That's exactly what you were talking about. That, hey, my ego got dissolved. So when they talk about death, it's death of my ego they're talking about also.
Okay. Okay.
So definitely,
Thank you.
yeah. Anybody wants to add anything? Yeah, Shilaji.
The Upanishad here insists that one who performs Nachiketa fire along with the meditation suggested goes beyond the shackles of death even while living in one's mortal coil. Herein, death means the living death in rotten negativities such as ignorance, desires, hatred, and so on. The practitioner of this synthesis of ritual, karma, and meditation, upasana, realizes his self to be the macrocosm Virat. I already read that.
Yeah, you read that. I think that Krishna Bhagwan wanted us to read this one more time because Meenaji asked that question, because it said it over here now, that it is the dissolution of all. Krishna Bhagwan wants to make sure that before we move forward, वो अच्छे दिमाग में घुस जाए हमारे. I think Sheila ji had a question or comment.
Yes, I have a question. Can you explain a little bit more about like meditation on fire?
What does it mean in this? Okay, yeah, that's a good.
Common language for people like us, what does it mean?
So remember, we're talking about the yagna over here a lot and fire. And then we talked about कि हम पंच महाभूत से बने हैं, right? 5 एलिमेंट्स हैं हमारे में, धरती, आकाश, जल, वायु और ये सब, right? So उसमें से fire is one element. लेकिन अगर हम फायर को कहाँ से आई फायर, अगर उस बात पे हम लोग विचार करेंगे तो वो हमको धीरे 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 वो भगवान तक ले जाएगी. That's what he's saying. Because फायर भी कहाँ से आई. जैसे कि सिंपल एग्जांपल सोचो कि भाई ठीक है, न्यूटन ने ये लॉ डिस्कवर किया कि भाई गुरुत्वाकर्षण का लॉ ऑफ ग्रेविटी, उसको we don't say he made it, obviously he didn't make it, he discovered it, right? But who made it? कहाँ से, किसने बनाया ये? वो जब हम विचार करते हैं तो वो हमको वहां तक ले जाएगा, कॉस्मिक इंटेलिजेंस तक ले जाएगा. That's all they are saying. Or I think that Joe has discussed this many times, that in Shiva Sutra they tell you, I don't know how many ways, he will tell you 112 ways to meditate. Meditation कोई, अगर आपको कोई बोले ना एक ही ढंग से meditate कर सकते हैं, that's not true. You can meditate hundreds of different ways. All it means is you are trying to connect to the higher. How you connect to the higher, it depends on your own mental makeup. So there are people do meditation on the different elements of this universe also. वायु पे करते हैं लोग, मेडिटेट करते हैं, आकाश पे करते हैं, अग्नि पे करते हैं, and there is something called open eye meditation. Okay, which people open, like they say, who told you that you have to close your eyes to meditate? हम लोग के तो दिमाग में ऐसे ही रहता है ना. He's saying no, you can meditate with your open eyes, you can connect to God. In fact, in chapter 10 in the Vibhuti Yoga, it's like open eye meditation it is. तुम जहां भी देखो भगवान दिखाई दे तुमको, तो वो ओपन आई मेडिटेशन हो जाता है, यू नो. सो दैट्स व्हाट ही इज मीनिंग बाय हु वन मेडिटेट्स ऑन द फायर. तुम उसके सोर्स तक पहुंच जाओगे धीरे धीरे धीरे. और मैंने बताया कि अभी भगवद गीता में आएगा ना, लाइक वी डिस्कस द टॉपिक हु इज गॉड. इट स्टार्टेड फ्रॉम हियर. पहले भगवान ने बताया कि भाई मेरा जन्म कैसे होता है, अगर मैं आता भी हूँ इस अर्थ पे तो क्यों, कैसे आता हूँ, क्यों आता हूँ वगैरह वगैरह. अभी शुरू हो गया चैप्टर 4 में. चैप्टर 7 में से शुरू होएगा. ही इज गोइंग टू टॉक अबाउट मेरी दो प्रकृति, एक हायर प्रकृति एंड लोअर प्रकृति. हायर प्रकृति इज द चेतन है, चेतन हूँ मैं. लोअर प्रकृति जो आपको दिखाई देती है पंच महाभूत से बनी हुई, लेकिन वो पंच महाभूत में प्राण उसी के से मिलते हैं. इफ यू द चेतना वहीं से मिलती है. कॉन्शियसनेस कम्स फ्रॉम द हायर नेचर. दैट्स व्हाट ही इज टेलिंग यू. So even though दोनों भगवान हैं, and that's why when we talk about Nirakar and Sakar and all that, you know, with the form God or without the form, you can argue for 1,000 years. But the truth is, in the essence, both are true. Because here it's telling you, Bhagwan is telling you, as a substratum I took birth. तो हो गया कि नहीं साकार? So you cannot say, oh, भगवान तो आकार हो ही नहीं सकता. You cannot say that at all. भगवान का आकार भी हो सकता है और निराकार भी है. दोनों सत्य है. So when you talk about meditating on the Agni, you are going back to the source, and he's going to tell in one of the chapters, I'm trying to think which one, chapter 13 probably, that Agni भी भगवान से ही उसका प्रकाश आया है. फिजिकल भी और लाइट ऑफ नॉलेज में भी, दोनों में they use the words light. One is a physical light that we see as a light outside, and one is a light of knowledge. When I have understanding of something, both have come from God. So इसलिए वो वहाँ तक ले जाएगा तुमको. That's what it means. Does that make sense?
Thank you much. Yeah. Make it very clear.
Yeah. Okay. So this verse is over. Any other question anybody has? Shall we go to the next one? एष तेऽग्निर्नचिकेत स्वर्ग्यो यम वृणीथा द्वितीयेन वरेण एतमग्नि तवैव प्रवक्षन्ति जनासः तृतीयं वर नचिकेतो वृष्णीवः. एष Esha is this, Te is they, Agni is the fire, Nachiketa is O Nachiketa, Swargya that leads to heaven, Yama is which, Avrunitha, ha, you have chosen, Dvitiyena by the second, Varen boon, Etam is this, Agnim is again fire, sacrifice, Tava eva, thine alone, Pravakshanti will call, Janasaha people, Tritiyam the third, Varam is boon, Nachiketaha, O Nachiketa, Vrishnivaha, you choose. So basically here he's telling you, Dharmaraj or Yamraj is telling him ki, okay, now I told you everything. This is the Nachiketa fire which will take you to heaven, and which you asked me as a second boon, and this will, he repeats again. Want to make sure that unka boon ekdam sahi chalega. People will call this fire after your name alone. So he repeats that one more time, you know. And then he's saying, अब तुम अपना तीसरा वर चूज करो. It's showing कि कि उन्होंने एक दो वर एक्स्ट्रा दे दिए ना, तो कहीं ऐसा नहीं वो सोच ले कि भाई ओ मेरा खत्म हो गया सारा. he has not forgotten धर्मराज that अभी तीसरा बूंद बाकी है. So he और he उसके मन में कहीं ऐसा नहीं हो कि वो हिचक नहीं हो पूछने में, oh, he's given me so much, should I ask a third one or not? ऐसा भी हो सकता है ना. Somebody start giving you too much and then you hesitate to ask what you want to ask. So he's saying, no, your third boon is still there. Please ask, So this is a very simple verse. There's not that much in it, but just concluding kind of thing. Okay, so who was the one that he was going to read? It was somebody. You want to read? Okay. Shireen, go ahead.
This is thy fire, O Nachiketa, which leads to heaven, and which you craved for. By the second boon, people will call this fire after thy name alone. O Nachiketa, now you choose thy third boon. Extremely pleased at the disciples' intelligence, sincerity, and devotion, Lord Death is heaping upon him blessing after blessing. Dharamraj declares that the details of this ritual given out for men of the world through the boy shall be eternally called after Nachiketa. Again in this stanza, Mother Shruti has clearly concealed a beautiful artistic stroke which throws a flood of light upon the magnanimity and truthfulness of Lord Death. Though Lord Death was pleased to shower upon the disciple extra boons, he yet feels obliged and indebted to the Brahmana boy. And since he had not given the promised third boon, it was possible that Nachiketa himself might have forgotten the first promise made by Lord Death. Ask of me 3 boons. But Lord Death, the magnanimous, the master of righteousness, himself reminds the Brahman boy of the third boon. Choose now, O Nachiketa, thy third boon. Yeah.
So I have another line over there. With the second boon, Nachiketa chose to know the knowledge of the Nachiketa fire. Okay, there's nothing much in there. So basically, couple of things that happened. So far, we have seen the virtues of Nachiketa. So in this Upanishad, they are just trying to tell you the qualities required to enter that field of Brahma Vidya. And if you are lacking in something, we should develop that if you want to get the full benefit of this knowledge, because it's a subtle subject. Okay, so basically it's just telling us, and through the weaving through the story, all his virtues were coming out. And Tejomayananji said, this is not the end of his virtues, more are going to come. Okay, but this is like entrance exam required, basically. We want to enter the IIT, you gotta have the entrance exam, or SAT when you want to go to college. So this was all SAT business going on over here, and it's also showing that Lord Yamraj, his big heart, that he's still feeling indebted to him. For so he's saying, "Hey, कहीं भूल नहीं गया हो? पूछ लो तीसरा भी." I don't want to. मैं अपना कोई ऋण रखना नहीं चाहता. Like हम बोलते हैं ना कि we don't want any debts, Baba, in life. I want to pay everybody. I want to take care of whatever I need to, so that when I quit this body, I'm done or everything. So basically, he has that feeling that I don't want to keep any debt. So those are the little points in here. Nothing. But now, from the next verse, the real thing starts. What this whole. So we have come to that point that where we are going to learn about, Brahma Vidya kind of will begin with a question. But in the next verse, he asks a very general question that comes to pretty much most of the human beings. If they are a little bit of thinking they do, those questions come to all of us. Even as children, you will see that question. Once you learn about, hey, somebody dying and all, the first question comes, what does that mean, this death and all that? So he asked in a very, very general way for benefit of all. But then Tejomayananji was explaining that as it progresses, his questions get more deeper, more subtler. But, suddenly they don't want to jump in the subject. So it starts with a very general question that when you will see that question and you will say, yeah, I think that I've thought about that too, similar way. You can look at it that way. Okay, so I'm going to go. No, wait. It's already 12:30. I think we cannot go on that one. So we'll do that next time. But just to give a background, that's he's going to ask him what happens after death. There is one line of thought that, okay, everything finished, done with. One life, you were born, you died, and sab kuch khatam ho gaya, nothing left. And there are those way of thinking. Even in India, there is Charvakas. Anybody heard of Charvakas? There was a Rishi Charvak who said, खाओ पियो मजा करो, यही life है, physical world जो भी है, कुछ आगे पीछे नहीं है. That's one line of thinking. Another one said, no. When you die, you don't die, physical body is gone, something remains, So he's saying that, I have heard that after death, some people say there is something left, some people say there is nothing left. I want to know from you what the right thing is. Horse's mouth. Lord of death को नहीं मालूम होगा तो किसको मालूम होगा after you leave. So he just, simple way he's putting this question. Even though Tejo Mehananji said, on one hand he did have Shraddha, कुछ तो रहता है, तो वही कुछ ही तो जाएगा ना वो स्वर्ग लोक में जाने के लिए. So there is a little confusion here, but the reason he's asking this kind of question, because it comes to any normal mind also. That, that's why people have fear of death, right? We have fear of death because we don't know it. It seems like unknown to us. So even though we hear other people, aisa hota hai, waisa hota hai, we are not sure. That's why he's going to ask that question to him. So that's how this is going to begin in verse 20. So I'm going to leave the whole thing at that, and then we'll continue with verse 20 next time. Anybody has any question, comment? I want to add a point.
I have a question.
Anilji?
Max Muller was a scholar of Vedantas. He wrote books about it, then he gave lectures on it. But here he says that he did not believe in reincarnation. Is that true?
Okay, I don't know that much about Max Muller. I've heard him, but I went to a Hindi medium school up to 12th grade, and then I went. So I did not study all this. I'm not 100%, but here in the commentary, there is something, right? Where was it?
He says
Bhagavad
that
Geeta. He made a comment. What did he say? He criticized the theory of reincarnation as metaphysical twaddle and scholastic hair splitting. True. So the way I look at it, and somebody who has studied Max Muller maybe knows about it and comment, sometimes even these philosophers, they do have a change of mind. Just because a person said one thing at one point does not mean that that's the end of it. After it's like हम लोग का देखो वेदांत पढ़ने के पहले हमारी एक धारणा हो सकती है, I think like this. After you study, you might change your mind. So I'm not sure when he said this and why he said it. But according to Chinmayananji, he made that comment somewhere. And some people, they don't believe in reincarnation. There are people, we know that in Christianity they're divided into it.
It's almost impossible to follow Vedantas unless you believe in reincarnation.
True. And so you can't go forward. It's like a car without wheels. Yeah. You're right. That it won't take you forward. You will be stuck in the mud. So if anybody has
Max Muller was stuck.
I'm sorry?
Max Muller must have been stuck.
He must have been stuck. Anybody who knows more about Max Muller?
Yeah, I know quite a bit.
Here, Joe will tell you.
Max Muller was... Okay, there are two theories, that the Aryans came from outside and they conquered India, or they were all here. Now, Max Muller was hired by the British people to promote the other theory, that they came from outside. So that's one controversy. He was a Sanskrit scholar. He was not a Vedantist. So his ideas, he's translating into Sanskrit. That is the main reason,
But I thought he went to Vedanta school in England.
He could have, but I don't know what he said about this or not, but he did translate everything into Sanskrit to English.
See, one comment I
This is
want to
our
make.
homework.
Yes,
This is our homework. Everybody You'd go to Wikipedia or whatever and find out about Max Muller.
I know Geeta is going to find out now.
I have sent everybody this book, which was Sanatan Dharma in 1913, which is published by the Banaras Hindu University. So under the contents, they have rebirth and karma as part of the indexes, So you can go over those. So if he didn't study this, then he's making statements without knowing.
See, I just want to make one comment that when you say Vedanta studies, there are two different ways you can study Vedanta. One is through the academic field in the college. It's so different the way they study. And, once you study through like Chinmaya Mission, they are all Swamis, who have meditated and done the sadhana and all that. उनके मुंह से जो निकलता है, और प्रोफेसर who has not, कोई प्रोफेसर हो सकता है उसमें दोनों क्वालिटी हो. I'm not undermining anything at all. But if they have only very dry way वेदांता पढ़ाओ ना, इतना डिफरेंट है वो. और एक इधर डिस्कशन हुआ था, आई थिंक इट वाज स्थानेश्वर जी का, बिकॉज वी आर फ्रेंड्स विद हिम, एंड सो इफ देयर समथिंग हैपनिंग, अभी तो कोविड की वजह से वी कैन नॉट गो, कोई होता था डिस्कशन, वी यूज्ड टू गो. सो ये वेदांतिन प्रोफेसर आए 3, एंड देन दे वर सिटिंग ऑन द डायस, एंड देन अदर पीपल वर आस्किंग क्वेश्चन. देयर आंसर्स वर सो डिफरेंट because they are tied by their